Hey, Zach again, newtutorial.com. Coming in making a video for you today. Today we're going to talk about baby making. Of all things. It just so happens every so often I get an email in my inbox asking about, Zach, is it okay to have children right now? I mean, honestly, look at the world around us. It's full of sin. It's full of corruption. There's a really good chance we're in the tribulation, or we could be close to it. And it's the last days. Is it responsible for us to be having kids right now? And my question is absolutely yes. And I want to go through some of the reasons, why I think that, and just explain this in this video, because I know this is a real concern for parents, because if you're going to bring a life into this world, you want to love that life and you want to give that life the best potential possible to succeed and grow and thrive and prosper. And if you're looking at the world around us, you're like, it's on fire. I mean, the world's literally on fire. Why would I want to birth a baby into this? Well, number one, understand that there is a commandment by the Father. It says, go forth, be fruitful and multiply. Be fruitful and multiply. So there's never in your Bible since then was there anything that rescinded that commandment, rescinded that, instruction. From here on out, there'll be a time and a day when the tribulation begins that, you'll no longer want, be able to or should be able to procreate or bring forth children or anything like that. No, it's not what it says. Never anywhere in your Bible. So understand that that's still in place today. I know the world looks like a circus that's burning down and everyone in the circus is being mauled by the animals. So, I know that's what it looks like today for sure. But the reality is, there's nothing in the Bible that says to stop having children. But we have that verse in Matthew chapter 24, verse 19. Let's read it. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. Now, right there, we have people who read that verse and they're like, Zach, I don't know. It says woe to them. That's crazy. Maybe we shouldn't have children. But no, first off, a couple things. It never says you shouldn't have children or God's people should abstain from having children. And number two, you don't know that it's actually talking about God's people to begin with here. Yes, part of the context of Matthew chapter 24, verse 19 is some of the tribulation that God's people are going to go through. But it never says in this particular verse that these people, it's going to be woe to God's people who are with child, or woe to them who give suck to a child, who are breastfeeding a baby. Okay, it never says that. That's something you've inserted into your mind based on the rest of the text. That could be or could not be true. I tend to agree that it's not true for God's people. Why do I believe that? You have to go back to consistency. Our Father is consistent from beginning to end. And when he brought his people forth out of the land of Egypt, the first time he brought the lame, the blind, and the little ones, the children. The kids who were there, who had parents who were raising their children, they brought those little ones. Okay, and we see this in the Torah. Exodus 10:9, and Moses said, we will go with our young and with our old and with our sons and with our daughters, with our flocks and with our herds we will go, for we must hold a feast unto the Lord. And that's just one of a few different verses that talk about specifically of them bringing their little ones out of the land of Egypt. Okay, and so in fact, it talks about later on how God's people were disappointed. They kept complaining and murmuring about their journey. And Moses said, you're not even going to go. It's going to be the kids. The kids you were worried about dying in the wilderness, they're going to be the ones who inherit the land, and not you because of your disobedience. So you have this consistency that the Father brings out his children, even the little kids, from bondage of Egypt. And I believe in a greater Exodus. I have a whole series on the greater Exodus that's posted on my website, newtutorial.com. You can go watch that. The second video of that series is all about the children. And he brings the children out. So I believe he's going to do that again one day. The first Exodus is kind of like a blueprint for the second Exodus, or what's called the greater Exodus. And I explain all that in my series, The Greater Exodus. But also we have future references that we can see too as well. And I believe these are valid for us in that future greater Exodus. Zechariah 10, verse 6 and 7. And I will strengthen the house of Judah, and I will save the house of Joseph, or Israel, and I will bring them again to place them, for I have mercy upon them, and they shall be as though I had not cast them off. For I am the Lord their God, and I will hear them. And they of Ephraim shall be like a mighty man, and their heart shall rejoice as through wine. Yea, their children shall see it and be glad. Their heart shall rejoice in the Lord. So it's like these mighty men of Israel, the house of Joseph, the house of Ephraim, the northern kingdom that was dispersed into the lands and who forgot their identity. This is not the Jews. This is not the southern, house of Judah. This is the northern, house of Israel, of Joseph, Ephraim. And they've forgotten who they are. They're a mighty man coming back, and their children are going to rejoice. Their children shall see it and be glad. So the children are coming out. I believe that to be true. But also we have this, Isaiah chapter 40, verse 11. And Isaiah chapter 40 is all about the greater Exodus. I highly encourage people to read Isaiah chapter 40. It's an amazing chapter. We see this verse 11, he shall feed his flock like a shepherd. He shall gather the lambs with his arm and carry them in his bosom, and shall gently lead those that are with young. He will gently lead those that are with young. So whenever this comes up, whenever this happens to come into my inbox, or I get asked at a conference or an event where I go to speak or whatever, and someone says, Zach, I really feel uncomfortable about bringing a child into this world, and me and my husband or my wife and I are having real issue with trying to justify this, I always bring up these verses, especially Isaiah 40, verse 11. He's going to gently lead us. He's going to bring us into the wilderness and take care of us. And I believe that to be true. I really do. And I know crazy things happen in this world, no doubt in my mind, but I think we cannot be scared. We cannot be fearful. We need to go forth and be confident in our Father's ability to keep us. And if we perish, if we happen to perish, that's okay. He still keeps us. He still has us in his hand. And so that does not deter me from wanting to have children, or it shouldn't deter you from wanting to have children, if that's possible for you. So, okay, this comes up a lot, and I wanted to talk about it because I know it's of great concern to a lot of people, especially in the days we're living in now when everything just seems to be nuts. We're living in bizarro world right now. There's no doubt about it. All right, we'll leave it at that. Go home, read your Bible. Thanks.